All right, so in this video, I'm going to show you how to make your virtual amps sound more real. If you have recorded your tracks, your guitar tracks through a plug-in amp simulator, a virtual amp of some kind, it's not a real amp with a real microphone air coming off the amp into the microphone, then no matter how good the model is, sometimes those fake amps, those amp simulators just don't quite sound super real in specific ways. And so if you feel like they sound a little cheap, a little fake, and you want to make them sound more lifelike, these two steps will help you. All right, so here's a song where the tracks were recorded through virtual amp. And I'll play a little bit and then I'll zero in on the guitars and we'll identify what it is about those guitars that make them sound fake, and then we'll make them sound more real.
Let out all the blood I've got, and I tell myself it will, even though
All right, that's the tone we're working with. And it's fine. I think it has a nice punch. It cuts through. Here it is in the chorus with another guitar part going alongside of it. Do you hear that top end? That fizzy top end. That's the dead giveaway that it's a fake amp. It's an amp simulator of some kind. It just fizzes so much at the top. And a real amp rarely fizzes like that. Usually a real amp, by the time it's coming off the amp or the way the microphone's angled on the amp or the microphone itself, that top end fizz is usually rolled off. A lot of times it's because most guitar amps that we're used to hearing were mic'd up with some kind of SM57 or similar dynamic microphone that just cuts off the top end. So that extra sizzle that might even be there on a real amp is rolled off by just putting the microphone in front of the amp cabinet. So what sounds real to us is a less fizzy top end on a distorted guitar. So this is how we take care of it. There's two ways to do it, and I like a combination of the two. One is through saturation, and one is through EQ. So let's take a look at this. We've got guitar left and right, and no matter what EQ you've got on them, just to blend with the mix, we could leave that alone. But I just want to show you how to make these sound a little bit more real. So what I'm going to do is just focus on one. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use EQ since most people have that. And I'm going to get a simple one band. Well, you know what? Let's just do it with a regular looking EQ so it's not confusing to you. Any EQ will do. All we need to do is just do a low pass filter. Low pass filter. It's the opposite of a high pass filter. Instead of rolling off the low end to let the highs pass through, we're going to roll off the top end, the high end, to let the lows pass through. So I'm going to engage this. And I'll crank it a little bit, and I'm just going to slowly roll it down. Right? So that's what it's doing. It's rolling off the top end. That's obviously too much. I rolled everything off above 2K. All right, so I landed on 6K. Let's turn it on and off again. There we go. So a little more subtle slope, and that gets rid of some of the fizz. I'm going to copy that over to the double guitar on the right. Now let's see what that's done on both guitars. I'll pan them left and right again. And what I'll do is we'll be able to turn these off at the same time. Here we go. First with them on, and then I'll bypass them and turn them off. See what we did? We just got rid of some of the upper fizz. Second thing you can do is grab any kind of saturation plugin you have. Tape saturation, console saturation, tube saturation, any kind of saturation you have. One that I love that comes free with Studio One, Pro Tools. You can even get it with Focusrite interfaces. It depends on what bundle you got, but it's a plugin that they give out a lot. Is from who is it from? Softtube. It's Saturation Knob. Softtube's been giving out this plugin in a myriad of ways through a myriad of partnerships. It's a great one to have. See if you can go to Softtube's site. Maybe you can get it directly from them. But all this does is it adds harmonics and saturation. What is this doing? This is adding sort of that analoginess to your tracks. It's adding distortion technically. So it's adding harmonics and distortion to the signal. And what that does is it usually, for our ears, absorbs some of the top end. When you used to record to tape or record onto a console, some of the harsh top end of cymbals or guitars or vocals got absorbed a little bit by this analog gear, so that what we actually heard with our ears was a little less top end like signal. So that's what sounds pleasing to us. It's a little bit rolled off. So sometimes adding a little bit of saturation to a track can help. So let's go back to, again, one of the guitars up the middle, and I'll start to roll in a little bit of tubes or saturation. So that adds a nice bit of body. Now, what that's doing is adding a little bit of level. What I'm going to do is turn the level down a little bit here, so that in theory, if I take off both of these guys in one fell swoop, it should be a similar level. So you see what we did there? We rolled off some top end, that sizzle's gone, and we added a little bit of body with a little bit of a saturation plugin, which also can absorb harsh frequencies. Let's copy that over to the double. Let's listen to both now, and we can turn all the plugins on. Actually, let's duplicate this EQ because I had the output turned down, so it should be level matched. Now we can turn them all on and off in one fell swoop. Much, much better. We can do the exact same thing here on the lead guitar part, and we can put it in context with the mix.
I can feel you slipping through my hands. Yeah, I can feel you slipping through my hands. If only I had loosened been a better man.
Much better, right? We'll go one final thing. We'll take a listen to the verse where we had just the guitars doing the sort of palm mute thing.
I bled out all the blood I've got, and I tell myself it will, even though I know that it will not. 'Cause I let that rush get rusted, that rush got rusted. I should've known better than I trusted better than.
That's a subtle move, but it really can take that fake virtual amp, virtual sound to sound more real, more natural, like you mic'd it up with a real amp and a real microphone.